Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Go With The Flow. This is the January 8th episode of the podcast. And as always, I am joined by my line mates, Dan Merritz and Kevin Bartman. Fellas, what's going on? How was your holiday? And a lot of good hockey recently. So how you guys doing? Lots of good stuff to talk about since we last met up to chat.
Yeah, lots of good hockey. Hope everyone's Christmas and New Year's is good, and excited to be back. Talk about
and
some
Hanukkah.
World Juniors.
Hanukkah.
Yeah, and Hanukkah. I was going to say, don't leave that out.
Kwanzaa maybe too. Yeah.
There you go. Thank you. Guys always have my back.
Yeah, a lot of good hockey, a lot of bad hockey.
A lot of bad hockey, too.
A lot of bad hockey. And some outdoor hockey, which we can discuss.
Bad hockey, like I just said.
Oh, you don't like? I like shadows on the ice, though. I really like shadows on the ice and slow skating and bouncy pucks, and really enhances the skill.
What do you know what I love about outdoor games is when they have to stop for 5 minutes at random times throughout the game to scoop out a mountain of snow. I just love watching that.
Oh yeah,
it's more enjoyable.
And it's never the hot chicks though. It's always like these dudes and it's always like these professional dudes who like the guys that like built the rink are the guys who clean the ice. It's never like you never get.
It's never the ice crew in the normal rinks.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, it was also hilarious with the stoppage in the Buffalo Rangers outdoor game at Citi Field when, because of the wind, they switched sides halfway through the 3-on-3, like the 250 mark. That was pretty funny too. So totally crazy. But one of the outdoor games that we had was at New Era Field in Buffalo, and that was because that was part of the World Junior Championship, which we I don't know if we really previewed it that much, but obviously we took it all in. And it was a pretty awesome tournament. As American citizens, Chicago area guys, obviously our squad fell a little short, but they mellowed once again. So great to see, the growth of United States hockey and everything. So really good to see them there again. But, usual suspects, Sweden, you just can't beat them in the prelims. They have some insane streak. I feel like Kevin might know the number, but it's like 60 in a row or some shit like that, where they've won in the prelim round. Like they just are on a, you just can't beat them in the early rounds. And Canada gets to see the gold medal game once again. Obviously,
I don't know if that's for sure, but Sweden seems like one of those teams that just never has a good group. Like they're always by far the best group team in their group.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So maybe we could do them a little justice by talking about some of the guys on that club. Maybe we'll start with Rasmus Dahlin. I mean, we had Chris Peters on, obviously, a few episodes ago or so, however long ago that was. And, he was raving about him. We were excited. We had all seen the highlights, but, based on living in the U.S. and the time change, this was kind of the first time I feel like a lot of people really got to, see him play live and everything. And he makes some just unbelievable high IQ plays. I mean, he's passing to the boards off himself. He could skate through anybody. There was one I watched him literally walk like 3 guys on the U.S. or something, and like almost score in the game that they thumped the U.S. 4-0. I mean, he could skate. He jumps into play offensively, and he's super polished in his own end. And obviously in that tournament too, he's only 17 years old, and he's obviously going to be the first overall pick in this upcoming draft. And maybe Tkachuk goes second too, and we'll talk a lot about him and Middlestat from the U.S. But thoughts on Dahlin and Sweden and anyone else that impressed you guys? Whoever wants to take it away.
Yeah, Sweden definitely scared me. Even though, like we just said, they were in a different prelim group than USA, and all the hype that we had heard talking with Chris and our own podcast that we keep doing on our own. We knew that there was a bunch of hype, but it was good to see him finally play. And he all but confirmed, he pretty much confirmed that he's going to be the number 1 pick in the draft. I don't think anybody's arguing that anymore now that we've seen him kind of on a world stage and perform. Unfortunate for him and the rest of the Swedes for silver medal. I was really hoping that they would win personally. I just can't stand Canada winning, but for me, the whole tournament as a whole, it was really entertaining to watch. The USA-Canada game, again, was one of the more entertaining games I've watched in a long time. Obviously went to the shootout again. And that was one of the few outdoor games. We were just kind of bashing on outdoor games. That was an outdoor game that was actually worth watching from start to finish. That was a great game from start to finish. So, I was the World Junior Championships continue for me to be, some of the most entertaining hockey you can watch outside of the NHL for sure.
Yeah, one of my main gripes this year, at least I'll talk about Sweden first. Sweden just seemed like a well-oiled machine. They just regardless of how good Dahlen is, they got, production from pretty much everyone on the roster, which is, pretty vital in getting to the gold medal game. But and then comparing them to last year's team, it's almost night and day, because the team last year, it was just like everyone was just playing super well every time on the ice. And I feel like this time they relied too heavily on that top line with Middlestat and Tkachuk, which, obviously we saw they fell short, and they did mop the floor with fucking Czech Republic in the bronze medal game. But
Czechs.
Yeah.
And Denmark, but I don't know if that really counts. But
yeah. But, do you guys not agree?
Totally.
No,
there's just way more consistent last year from lines 1 through 4.
Bellows, I mean, how many do you have? 9 goals?
Bellows, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
2 against Russia.
We talk about a team that's going to be fun.
That was more in the last game, but
yeah.
Go on, Nick.
Yeah, you talk about an NHL organization that's going to be fun in a few years. It's going to be the Islanders. I mean, you've got, we talked last time, with, the announcement that the Islanders are going to get a stadium back on Long Island. I mean, I know Brooklyn's Long Island, but this is more convenient and closer proximity to where Nassau Coliseum was. It's only a few miles away from there in Belmont. So, with Tavares hopefully there in the fold, and, the trade for Eberle, and, guys like, Bailey, and I know I'm not naming all their forwards, but they've got a lot of talented guys, and Bellows and Barzal. I mean, they've got a hell of a core moving forward, up front. So hopefully we always joke, it's always with the Isles. It's, well, will they get the goaltending? Because Halak and Grace absolutely stink. So, but they're still winning some games. They probably shouldn't without them, without, adequate goaltending. But man, I'm just looking at the Isles and looking at that forward group and saying, man, they're really poised. I mean, Barzal and Tavares setting up Bellows. I mean, that guy's shot is NHL ready already. I mean, he was making goalies look just silly in that tournament. But yeah, they definitely relied on the top lines a lot. There, Middlestat looked like was trying to force things a little bit. I mean, he had a very productive tournament, but you could tell him, and Tkachuk were trying to force things, and Tkachuk sets the tone in other ways with his physicality and stuff. But yeah, didn't seem like they were getting a lot of scoring by committee. It was just very top heavy and relying on those that top 6 like Kevin was talking about. But the other thing too was they did get a few big goals from the back end, like Adam Fox, I think, had a really nice tournament for the U.S. So it's nice to see a medal, but we could have used a little more scoring, especially in the Sweden game.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that you beat me to it, the blue line. I feel like last year, obviously McAvoy probably being the one that stands out most last year.
Unreal player.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially in that gold medal game last year. I think he scored like the first or second goal to kind of get. They were down 2-0 and then 4-2 in that gold medal game last year, and he kind of got the ball rolling for the kind of the first comeback, if you will. And they definitely missed a guy like him on the back end. And like you're saying, forcing passes. We even noticed it in the Canada game early on. Middlestat was kind of forcing some passes that weren't really there, and then later on, I think. Specifically in that game, the outdoor game, the USA kind of settled down, and then that's when everything started to gel. And then that's when I think Middlestat had like 2 assists or something like that, and one of them being the one that tied it up 3-3. That was an absolutely filthy pass from below the goal line. But yeah, it was last year's roster was definitely, I think, like what both of you guys were saying, it was more of a complete roster last year than this year.
Also, just a general statement, or like this is more of an observation I had. The attendance at every game was very underwhelming.
Brutal.
It was piss poor.
Yeah, and
like especially for being in such a good hockey market as Buffalo is.
A good hockey market, but a small one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, like you'd still think for U.S. games, like the bronze medal game. I guess it's a bronze medal game, so like it's not
Yeah.
necessarily that important. But I mean, like it was just very underwhelming compared to last
Well,
year. Like
shit.
they
Well,
were.
shit. If a silver medal is not important, a bronze medal isn't one. If you ask Elias Anderson, holy shit. Did you see?
Oh yeah,
If
let's
you
talk
guys
about
saw
that.
that?
We can
Yeah.
talk about
Well,
that.
no, we'll get to that. But we keep going with the attendance thing because you're right. I want to.
I mean, that's all I got to say. Like it was just like I was watching the games, like why aren't there more people here?
Well, I saw
It
that
was
the top end tickets, like the lower bowl, like some of the nicest seats were like $250, and like these are like
that's outrageous.
on
That's too much.
the extreme spectrum, like the Downs, 17-year-olds, and then like 18-year-old kids and stuff. I mean, it's obviously up to 20 years old, but U20, but U20 tournament. But I mean, it's not the Olympics, okay? Like, it's a lot of these games are on a weekday. These aren't guys that are in the NHL yet. Obviously, you're probably watching the future of the NHL, or a lot of these Russian guys will be in the KHL, and this is the future of a couple of the best hockey leagues, and obviously it's going to be cool in a few years to say, well, I saw this guy before he was a household name, and yada yada yada. But I mean, it's Buffalo. I mean, it's a working class city. I mean, obviously there are wealthy people and there are blue collar people in all cities and large towns across North America, but Buffalo, I mean, it's just it's a place that was convenient for the Canadians to go, but I mean, it's just the tickets were just so expensive for a World Junior Championship. I mean, just no one wants to pay these obscene amounts of money to go watch Denmark play Finland. Like, a random upstate New York resident or Western New York resident doesn't have an interest in seeing, Denmark play Belarus and pay, triple digits to take their family like on a Wednesday afternoon. Like, that's just not feasible. I think they need to make it, the USA Canada game, sure, make it more expensive. And the outdoor game was more of a money grab, but I don't think there was a lack of interest. I think it was just, it's, you got to price it more appropriately. And I don't think the prices that they had really justified what a lot of those games were, because I mean, if the USA or Canada wasn't involved, I mean, the Olympics definitely get more travel involved. I mean, the World Junior Championship, like Captain Obvious, but I don't think there were tons of people from Europe flying in for this. So you're relying heavily on the North American audience and the people from, Ontario coming across the border and, East Coast, mostly East Coast American hockey fans. And, you gotta tinker to them. So, maybe, I don't know, from a marketing standpoint, like, make the games that they care about more affordable, and while they're in town, give them a deal to go see the other games. If they're just big hockey fans and they don't have anything else to do in Buffalo, then give them a reason to go to some of the other games, because those crowds were dismal. I mean, some of these games, like 80% of the crowd was gone, and it was just sad.
Yeah, I remember, this is just going off that, like I read some article, I can't remember where, but it was saying how kind of disappointing it was to have that outdoor game as just a group game, because there's an obvious, decline in quality of play just due to the weather, like the conditions, the ice conditions, and just like we saw, you couldn't complete a pass, you could barely see the puck when you're carrying it. Like it was a total money grab, and that's kind of disappointing for something that, like, for such a tournament that had as much integrity as we thought it did.
Yeah, I loved one of the stats that they threw out, like, during the game. They're like, oh yeah, this is the highest attended World Junior Championship game of all time. It's like, you think?
Well, yeah, no shit.
Yeah, you just put it in a big football stadium. But, well, and then, Kev, to your point, and we've touched on this before with, the NHL outdoor games. It's really just for, I mean, yeah, it'd be fun to go to experience it and be like, yeah, I went to this game, for instance, Chicago, Soldier Field, Wrigley Field, all that stuff. But as far as I'm concerned, outdoor games are really just for the people at home, in the warmth of their own homes, watching it on TV, because you can't see anything. It's I mean, you put it into that baseball field, even, and there are people that are just, light years away from, the action. And so it's just for people, it's two things. It's a money grab for people to go to say they went, and then it's for the people that are back home in their living rooms to watch. And it kind of sucks because, that level of play does, it gets sacrificed. It's not as good as it possibly could be. That being said, though, like I said, that USA-Canada game is one of the better outdoor games I've watched in a long time. I usually
had to come to a shootout.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of times I don't even bother watching the outdoor games because I'm like, this is stupid. The ice isn't going to be that good, or it's going to be snowy or whatever. And that one, was just a good game from start to finish. And then shootout again. So
do you guys like that? And then I don't like that. I'd rather
shootout?
that Canada
No.
USA game was amazing. Like, obviously, even though the United States won, that was great. So I'm not complaining. And they won the gold at the WJC in Montreal last year on a shootout, behind Troy Terry's heroics. So from the United States, it's gone their way. But that USA-Canada game, I wasn't done watching, them play 5-on-5, and they do a little 3-on-3 overtime, which was, entertaining. But that USA-Canada game was so good. I wanted to see that get decided on a 5-on-5 goal or whatever, 5-on-4 if a team, struck on a power play or something. So I don't know. Do you guys like that? I really don't.
No, I don't. Well, for like the preliminary games, for the round games, that's okay if you end it in a shootout. But I don't know, make the overtimes a little longer instead of just 5 minutes. Maybe make it like a 4-on-4, like a 10-minute 4-on-4 period, and then go to the shootout. But as far as like the medal games go, so like for last year's gold medal game, that game shouldn't have been, and obviously I'm happy that USA won, like you just said, but that game really should have been decided by a single goal in overtime, not a shootout. That, to me, it just, seeing a goal, win or lose, seeing a goal in overtime like that is just so much more entertaining than watching a shootout. So if they want to keep the shootout, that's fine, but just have it be for the prelims, and then once you get into your quarters and semis and gold medal in your medal games, make it a continuous overtime like they do with the NHL.
Yeah, just generally speaking, a shootout is, in any sport really, is probably the worst way to decide a game, especially in a championship game or a medal game. Like, it's just so anticlimactic is the best way to put it, because it really doesn't do justice to how well the game was played before. If it's coming down to a goalie and a shooter to decide a gold medal, that's pretty pathetic, in my opinion.
I think that's a great way of putting it, for sure. I definitely would have, in both the USA-Canada games. I wasn't ready for the regulation hockey, so to speak, to end. But maybe we want to touch a little bit more on Sweden. We had talked about them a little bit ago, but because obviously the play of Dahlin, but a few notes that really, for me, I thought Alex Nylander looked really good. I don't think his numbers in Rochester have been totally electric, but I think he looked pretty damn good in that tournament. And Elias Peterson, recent top draft pick for Vancouver in the 2017 draft. Absolutely electric shot, hell of a playmaker. Elias Anderson had a nice tournament, and Dahlin on the back end, and Eric Brandstrom is really smooth, and he can jump into the play. And that was one of the 3 first-round picks Vegas had. So they took him in the teens in that draft, and he looked really nice. And Lil Jurgen's going to be a good player for the Maple Leafs. He's currently with Toronto's AHL club, the Marlies. So, like Kevin said earlier, really well-oiled machine. But one of the guys I'd mentioned, Elias Anderson, he's the 7th overall pick by the Rangers. They got that pick in the Derek Stepan trade, which was made at the draft. Maybe Kev wants to give the backstory on this one. It was pretty funny. I'll let him explain it because he's got a good way of explaining stuff. But it was, a lot of people found it disrespectful. I found it funny. If you're not first, you're last. But I'll let Kevin maybe give his take on what he saw and what he thinks, and then DMAR, obviously.
From what I saw, it couldn't have been a more American move, in my opinion, for being a Swedish guy. So what he did, for all those who didn't see, they fell short in the gold medal game. So as the Swedish players were receiving their silver medals, their captain, Elias Anderson, It was put around his neck. He immediately skated past whatever and tossed his medal into the crowd and to cry, standing on the blue line, just looking in total misery. It was a what I don't. It's what was your take on it?
I don't know. I I understand like his frustration and whatnot. Obviously losing like that, especially with a minute and a half left in the game, and everything sort of just gets crushed in front of you. But I don't know. As a captain, I feel like there's a certain level of obviously leadership, but there's a certain level of I'm struggling to find the word, but you have to conduct yourself in a certain way as
professional.
It was immature.
Professionalism, yeah. Especially when you're representing your country too. Like it wasn't just some, junior hockey team that he was representing. It was a Sweden jersey he had on. So it's like, come on, dude, don't do that. I understand you're mad. And, granted, I've never played on that stage and I never will. But I know what it's like to have heartbreaking defeats, and you just have to find a way to compose yourself and not throw your silver medal to a Canadian fan.
I just love how he didn't even hesitate, though. He just took the medal.
There was no hesitation. It was immediate.
He just took it and he went, I don't want this shit. If you're not first or last. And
it went flying.
Yeah. Yeah, you trade this into IKEA for some nice furniture. I don't want this shit.
A lot of furniture at IKEA.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of those things, too, where, who knows? Maybe that guy got in touch with, the Swedish Hockey Federation, where they call it, and guy probably maybe regretted afterward. That's a thing in 15 years. He might look back and go at his career and go, you know what, that's something I'd like to have now. Or, or maybe that's a reminder to him if he looks back like, no, I don't want that medal. It's a reminder that, I don't play for suck and I play to win and whatever. But I think the most electric thing, though, did you guys see the guy who caught it, what he did? The guy who caught the medal was like in the front row on the glass. The dude, total hockey guy, puts it on.
Put it on.
And he was wearing 3 hockey jerseys. And so they showed the clip of the guy catching the medal. He takes off like a USA jersey or like a Rochester Americans jersey, pulls it off. Then he's got a Team USA jersey on, pulls it off, and then he's got a Sweden jersey on is the third layer. And he's just chilling with the Sweden like silver medal with his Swedish jersey. Like total a total bizarre moment. Like this dude just chucks the captain, chucks his medal. And by the way, I've never seen a more devastated group of people than those Swedish kids, man. They were just like, that was hard to watch. Like they were all like laying on the ice,
yeah,
and, like, bawling their eyes out, and it's like, man, like,
all right,
it's not like you play for Russia. Like you're not gonna get killed when you go home. Like it's gonna be.
Oh God, those poor kids.
I'm kidding.
To Serbia.
I got 2 thoughts. I got 2 thoughts. So
yeah, I'm joking.
First of all, the guy wearing a Rochester Americans jersey is. Like, that's just a total hockey guy move. I don't know if anyone in the history of America has ever bought a Rochester Americans jersey.
I mean, it's local to Buffalo, so he's probably a local guy, Western New York.
Like, that's just outrageous. Secondly,
3 jerseys. How hot is that guy? Like, like how hot must he have been at that game? Like, I
don't know. And then secondly, I think one silver lining in him tossing his silver medal and then obviously crying like the rest of his teammates is like this tournament means to hockey players that get to play in it, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, and some kids, not everyone gets to play in it 2 years. Like, what are the odds Darlene's going to play in this next year? Like, this was his shot, because whoever drafts him, he's not going to be playing in.
No. Well, that's a really good point. Yeah.
Hopefully he'll be playing for the Blackhawks during it next year.
Oh, fucking please. He's not. Yeah, he's not. He's going to go maybe he's Montreal or Edmonton, though, because, oh, my goodness. Those are some teams that are
bad.
Dude, no. Edmonton, no.
If he goes to Edmonton,
they do not deserve another first overall pick.
They don't, but
alone someone like Rasmus Dahlin.
I don't know. Chiarelli. I mean, Chiarelli's just got his finger, like, put a blindfold on him, few buttons. Which superstar am I going to trade and get not enough for? He's just, when's he going to press that button and make a trade he's going to regret? I would fucking fire that guy. Let's talk about Edmonton. we just we're recording this on Sunday night. This will be dropping on Monday. So yesterday, uh, the Blackhawks beat Edmonton for the second time in about a week and a half. They had a little bit of a traumatic win in Jeff Glass's first NHL win, replacing the injured Corey Crawford. We can talk about that situation too. But they beat Edmonton and then beat them again today 4-1. And Edmonton, we'd been sitting there like, they were so good last year, and they've got McDavid, they've got Draisaitl, and they've got a couple decent secondary pieces. Like, it's hard to imagine them just being at the bottom. Nope, they're not going to the playoffs. I think it's pretty safe to say Arizona, Vancouver, and Edmonton, I think they're just too far out of it now. They're only like 8 to 10 points out of the playoffs right now, but there's just so many teams they're going to have to jump. So I just think they're just done. Cam Talbot's not playing well. He gets peppered all the time. He faces a ton of shots. It's abysmal, the forwards that they have outside of McDavid and Draisaitl. Lucic ain't giving them enough. The Strome trade was absolutely terrible. Draisaitl missed a little bit of time early in the season, but it's just porous what they have around McDavid and Draisaitl right now. And with that defense and what they're getting out of Talbot, and I mean, part of it's not Talbot's fault, but he doesn't make he's not making some of the saves he was making last year, because even though he faced a lot of shots last year, he played really well, and he was a huge reason why they almost went to the Western Conference Final. But maybe we'll talk a little bit about Edmonton, and another Canadian team that's having some serious issues is Montreal, and it sounds like they're shopping Max Pacioretty. They're slip sliding away, man. Just a couple really popular Canadian teams that had some expectations going into this year, not doing so hot based on the way Edmonton played last year. And, obviously Carey Price getting his extension and making the Druin trade. And boys' thoughts on maybe we'll start with Edmonton and talk a little about the Habs too.
I think one of the big things for Edmonton, why they're so bad this year, is they're not, and you hinted at it with Lucic, is they're not getting that secondary scoring. And that's what made him so lethal in the playoffs, was you had Draisaitl and McDavid, and then everybody else was picking up the pieces. If they weren't scoring, you had Zach Cassian, I think, had a hell of a he had quite a few games where he had a couple goals, which is like out of left field. And Lucic, as we know from being on Boston, he's usually a big playoff guy and whatnot, and he was producing. And now this year they're just not getting anything. Al Montoya came over, I believe, like 3 or 4 days ago, something like that. So I don't think that's really going to help, other than it gives Talbot.
That was a dumb trade, by the way.
Yeah,
because there's been better goalies that have been like waived.
Yeah, exactly.
Assets.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess maybe that'll give Talbot a little bit of a break from the onslaught, but it's not really going to help him big time. So as far as the West goes, and as jam-packed as it is, with teams that are in that third place division spot, and then the 2 wild cards, and then like the Hawks who are just out of it, I think there are too many teams super close, and Edmonton's just a little bit too far behind. The only way I think they're going to get in is if one of the teams that's either in the playoffs right now or on the bubble just absolutely falls off the face of the earth, and Edmonton finally starts playing like they did last year. And I think for right now, it's just too little too late for them. And the same thing goes with Montreal. It's kind of the same story I've been harping on the last couple of years, is that everybody on Montreal sucks except for Carey Price. Jonathan Drouin is doing horrible right now. He's had like 3 points in his last, I just saw the stat. They were just showing it in the intermission between the Oilers and the Hawks. He's in like 15 games. He's had like 3 points, and he's like a -11. He's doing absolutely nothing. So those are just two teams that, Nick, like you said, it's too little too late right now, especially for the Oilers.
My immediate thought with the Oilers is just like you said, Nick, with how well they did in the playoffs last year. I wasn't the only one for sure. Everyone had such high expectations for them this year because it's largely the same roster now, and the product that we're seeing is miles worse than we saw last year. So it's like, I don't know. I don't even know who to point the finger at. Like, obviously you said there's a lack of secondary scoring, but just like, you don't know what to do. Is it something McClellan's doing? I don't know. He's a good coach. He's not pushing the right buttons right now, so it's a really shitty situation. And like I said earlier, if they have the first overall pick again, I'm going to shoot somebody. Terrible. And then back to the Canadians, they just stink. Like that's probably one of the worst run franchises in the NHL. I'll say it. They stink.
I agree, 100%. They're brutal.
Like Bergevin he's a fucking idiot.
I don't understand Bergevin, and like I would not let if I'm a fan of either team, I would not want Mark Bergevin or Peter Chiarelli making another big trade for my franchise. They have proven that all of their trades are just a heaving pile of wow. All right, we got to cut that. What time are we at? Can we cut that?
We're at
I napped that.
30 minutes, 53 seconds.
With no break, so that was good. Easy one for Kevin, bro.
Yeah, thank God. All right, 30 minutes, 53 seconds?
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm ready to go. All right. If I'm a fan of either team right now, of Edmonton or Montreal, I do not want Peter Chiarelli or Mark Bergevin making another big trade. They should be absolutely canned and take the keys away from the kingdom. They don't deserve to trade anybody, have any more roster decisions, let alone trade guys who have supreme trade value. A lot of these trades are looking really shitty right now. They're paying Drouin a lot of money, and Sergachev is absolutely tearing it up right now for Tampa, first place Tampa. Obviously, the Subban trade's not looking so good right now for Montreal. Subban is younger and playing a lot better than Shea Weber. I think Shea Weber's a little banged up right now. The Taylor Hall trade, the Eberle trade, and if you want to count it, the Sagan trade from Chiarelli's at the end of Chiarelli's tenure in Boston. I mean, I wouldn't trust these guys with any more roster management decisions. These guys are just, I feel like, I don't understand how you have McDavid and Draisaitl and you are just that incompetent that you can't surround those guys with more talent than what they have right now.
Well, you can, but you traded them away.
Yeah. Well, they had Hall they could have had Hall, Eberle, McDavid, and Draisaitl. And honestly, Eberle, I don't think like Eberle is like an amazing player or anything by any stretch. I think, he's just a volume shooter, but he can skate really well. He's a good player. But if you're going to trade him, like that was the trade they should have made for like a defenseman. Like trading Taylor Hall for Adam Larkin, like they could have traded Eberle for a defenseman and just kept Taylor Hall. I feel like
was the Eberle trade just for Strome?
Yeah, it was 1-for-1, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 1-for-1.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was 1-for-1.
You got to get some draft picks or something too.
Yeah,
and so was Larson for Hall.
Well, and he did this. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm done.
I was just he did the same thing in Boston. It's not like he went from Boston and he was good, and then all of a sudden something happened in Edmonton. When he was in Boston, they had Tyler Seguin, and he traded him to Dallas for like Louis Eriksson and like one other guy or two other guys.
It was like Joe Morrow.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing trading? Yeah, and the rumor was like at the time was that Tyler Seguin was like partying too much, and it was like, well,
yeah.
The rumor was that Patrick Kane was doing the same thing, but we didn't trade him away for nobody. We sat him down and said, "Look, you're a professional athlete. This shit's got to stop." Like, you don't trade somebody away like that. That's so stupid. And now obviously Sagan's down in Dallas, and Boston's doing pretty well this year. On a side note, they just lost it, but yeah, they just lost. They lost.
Did they lose?
Unrelated. They lost in overtime, but. Yeah, a little unrelated. They are doing fine, but I mean, think about if they did have Tyler Seguin and Louis Eriksson's like completely underwhelming. It's like, what are you doing, dude?
How dumb does Boston look now for how long they dicked around to sign past Pasternak? I mean, Jesus, like that guy's amazing. What took so long? God.
But I don't know, dude. Like, isn't it? I'm pretty sure no one that Boston got in the Seguin trade is with that organization anymore. Is that true?
No. Well, I don't think so.
I have it in front of me. It's Louis Eriksson, Riley Smith, Joe Morrow, and Matt Frazier.
I think they're all gone.
Riley Smith, isn't he the one that's on?
Well, Louis Eriksson, he went to the Bruins, then he left, and then he came back. Or is that completely false?
I think
No. He just went to Vancouver.
Did he just go to Vancouver? Okay.
Yeah. But he was amazing at Dallas, but he was way older.
Yeah, exactly. And Morrow's been in the league for 7,000 years.
Yeah, I mean,
he's not playing anymore. But he's not like.
I think he might be. Let me look this up. Keep going though.
They also gave up Rich Peverly. Boston did. Well, his career ended unfortunately, but still, like for Sagan, you're getting. So basically, you give Sagan and Rich Peverly, who was doing well at the time, away for Louis Erickson, Riley Smith, Joe Morrow, and Matt Frazier. And you look at that, and it's the same thing with the Taylor Hall trade. It's like
Joe Morrow's with Montreal, but I don't think he's played this year.
Okay.
Thanks, Hockey DB.
It's like, what are you looking like? Are we looking at the same stats that you're looking at? Because I just don't understand why he's so ready to give away players, really good players, like pretty much franchise players, for nothing.
He just loves shaking it up when things don't go according to plan. And sometimes you just gotta
just chill out, dude.
Yeah, chill out. Fucking have some perspective. Fuck. Like, how old was Sagan when they traded him? 21?
He was 21. He was literally 21. He's just a kid.
And he won a cup with them at 19 and played really well.
Yeah.
And lost another cup. Because they traded him. Yep. Didn't they trade him after they lost the Blackhawks?
He was his last year. Boston. And then, his last year was Boston.
Yeah.
His last year was 2013 with Boston, is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. God damn it. Maybe he knows something that we don't.
Yeah, I doubt it. I would love to know what that information is.
Right?
Love to know what that information is. Yeah, Bergevin, too. It feels like there's been the same problem for years with Montreal, that they don't get enough scoring. And then they get Radulov, who played well, and then he's gone in the year. And then you try to make a move with Drouin, and Drouin plays just well enough for Tampa last year to raise his trade value after that whole snafu with not, reporting to Syracuse and all that stuff. Him and Cooper didn't really get along, which is amazing because it feels like John Cooper's like the greatest players coach ever, and gets the most out of everybody. So just kind of shows that he was being just a little spoiled shit in the beginning of his career, because Cooper's an awesome coach. But they got Drouin, and that isn't exactly coming up roses right now in the first year of a 5 or a 6 year deal that he got. He signed that deal right after the trade. So, they signed him before they even saw him wear the Habs sweater. So, we'll see what happens with Montreal. Not looking so good, but maybe touch on the Blackhawks too real quick. In the Central Division, man, it's a tight division right now. I'll give a quick shout out to Megan, who writes for Let Me Be Frank. She wrote a nice blog about the Avalanche, who are playing surprisingly well right now in a tough Central Division behind Nathan McKinnon. So check out that article and all the other hockey stuff we've put up on the blog recently. But going into Sunday, the Penguins and the Blackhawks were both in last place. The Central Division seems completely flipped. I think Winnipeg was kind of a darling pick at the beginning of the year. They're in first. St. Louis is playing really well. And Minnesota kind of treaded water while Parise missed extended time, and Dallas is really good. And now the Hawks are without Corey Crawford indefinitely, and they're riding the 32-year-old journeyman Jeff Glass and Anton Forsberg tandem right now, and also are missing Anisimov. So the Central Division is really interesting, but the Hawks and everyone in the Central is right there in the wild card chase, but pretty crazy to see how tight that division is. Just thoughts on the division, and are the Hawks you guys think the Hawks are going to be able to stay in it right now with that whole situation? And
I mean, just looking at it right now on the NHL app, they're in last place in their division, but they're not that far out. It's the only other division that's as competitive as the Central is the Metropolitan right now. Like I just said, the Hawks are dead last, but they're not that far out from a wild card spot. If they pick up a couple games and get some help, they're not too far off. They're 8 points out of a actual division. So, the division as a whole is just really, really strong again, like they've been year after year after year. So, they need to string some wins together. It was really unfortunate to see them lose to Vegas. They didn't have their best game, but they had a nice little comeback They're down 2-1 and then, or 2-0 and then 3-1, and they had the lead and then they gave it up. That's, they didn't even force an overtime, which is what happens with a lot of the other Central Division teams right now. Is if they're not getting 2 points, they're at least getting one. Like the Blues lost tonight, but they took it to overtime, so they still got 1 point. And the Hawks just need to find a way to. It's that consistency factor that's been missing pretty much the whole season. They're just a little too inconsistent right now, and in a division that's as tough as the Central, that can really kill you. So for them, big win tonight, obviously against Edmonton. 4-1. They looked, well. Edmonton did not look well, but it's just they need to find ways to string. They need to string points together, whether it's forcing things into overtime or just winning outright. But they've got to find a way to be more consistent. And
don't lose in regulation. Don't lose in regulation.
Yeah, exactly. Don't lose.
Exactly.
Don't lose in regulation. And obviously, it doesn't help that Anisimov is out and your starting goalie, who, as we've mentioned, is having a hell of a year. But that's what they need to do if they're going to try and make a playoff push here.
Yeah, like that's the one thing I was going to say is consistency. Like the biggest problem with the Blackhawks this year is they'd have maybe 2 or 3 games where they'd play spectacularly, like looking good in every single phase of the game, and then just shit the bed for the next 3 or 4 games. So they're coming out, with a net loss, and so to speak. So, when, like you said, when you have teams at top of the division who are consistently great hockey all year, it's going to be really hard to dig your way back up to the top. And at this point, the Hawks are looking at a wild card spot at the most. Like they're not gonna get a division spot, and
they got a.
And then even if they
stretch though, home games coming up against some very winnable games and some games in hand as well. So
yeah,
this is a big couple weeks for them right now. It's probably going to be this is what is going to make or break their playoff chances. But yeah,
I would agree. And then on the chance they do make the playoffs, this team just can't win a Stanley Cup.
Okay. Do you think so? I'm going to guess the answer is no here, but for Kevin, but Mike, the question I'll ask you guys is Stan Bowman every year, he definitely makes a big deal at the deadline. Do you even bother this year?
Fuck. Like you said, I would say this next couple weeks or so is when you can really truly answer that question.
I want to know about Crow,
either
there'll be Crow being out indefinitely is scary. What does that mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that a month? Is that till April? What the hell does that mean? I need to know. I mean, shit. Because if you're looking good, you win a few games. I don't know how long this tandem can carry him. Jeff Glass, it's a great story. If it's him and Forsberg, man,
we're fucked.
We're gonna get spanked. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's bad. But staying in the West a little bit, maybe we'll talk a little bit about the Pacific. Also, kind of jumping around here a little bit, but also want to mention we had talked about Boston, and I just thought of it. Bergeron had a 5-point game the other night, and that was really filthy. It's amazing how good he is still at everything.
Hit 700 points, right?
Yeah, he might have. So congrats to him. He's just an awesome ambassador for the league on and off the ice.
He is. Yeah.
He's just an unreal player. And yes, the hockey community always salivates over him, but 5-point game is a great reminder of how good he is. And obviously he's the unquestioned leader of a really hot Boston team right now. So they're a big time threat in the East. After things spiraled out of control for a little bit out there, but the way Marchand has grown and Pasternak's development, really young, great superstar, lead offensive player in this league. McAvoy and Tuukka Rask is a hell of a goaltender, so they're going to be a threat. But yeah, let's jump to the Pacific. I heard Arizona is open for business. Do you guys think OEL is going to stick around there? Because I believe we've talked about this before. And Duclair asked for a trade out of there, so he wants a fresh change of scenery, which might be good for him. We've seen change of scenery be good for a guy like Riley Sheehan going to Pittsburgh. So maybe a trade there happens soon with that. But, OEL is going to stay there. I think Doughty and Carlson are all poised to be in the same free agent class. Seems like Toronto is going to go after those guys. And Calgary, they're hanging around a wild card spot, but Dan and I were talking about it in our little group chat before that, Yager sounds like they're heading for a divorce there in Calgary. And have we seen the last of Yager? I mean, is the team going to trade for him? Have we seen the last of him? Because quite frankly, at this point, he's basically a second unit power play guy, because if he can just stand there and protect the puck on the half wall or something, and not have to skate 200 feet, that's about as useful as he can be, because he can't really keep up these days with the skating. So at some point, maybe he's going to just have enough pride to say, you know what, I can't really keep up with these young kids anymore, because it's kind of tough for him. Like, I appreciate the longevity and the career he's had, but the way the NHL is going right now at the speed, I mean, he's really just not productive. Dan, what are his stats that you'd said earlier? Like, how's he doing?
It was 22 games played. He had a goal and 6 assists in those 22 games. Let me make sure I got that right.
I'm sure they made a killing on the jersey sales, but I mean...
Oh, for sure. But yeah, I mean, he's just... Yeah, 22 games played this year, 1 goal, 6 assists. They said that in one of the intermissions of, I think it was the Boston-Pittsburgh game. And basically they have pretty much parted ways. I think it's pretty much 100% at this point. I know most of the guys on the panel that were talking were pretty confident that this is it for him, at least as far as the NHL goes.
He might go to Europe.
He might go to Europe, and who knows? Would him leaving? Would he be able? He should be able to play in the Olympics, right? Then, because
shit,
right? Like,
well, I think he might have to retire from the NHL.
Yeah, he would have to officially retire, but if he's done, then I don't see why he wouldn't be eligible to play. So, I mean, I think we'll still see him around.
I didn't even think of that shit.
Yeah, like, I think we'll still see him play.
Yeah, and we're going to cover the Olympics. Don't worry, folks. We're covering the Olympics in this episode.
Absolutely, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, he might do what, Datsuk did. Just go back to the KHL, or, play somewhere in the Czech Republic, or just somewhere in Europe, anywhere in Europe. I don't think his career as a professional athlete is over just yet. I think his career as an NHL player is over, though. Like you just said, the speed, and at his age, he's 45. The dude's been an absolute stud. Third all-time.
I just don't think he makes your team better anymore.
No, and he did just a few years ago when he was playing with Boston, and even with Florida, one of those years or so. You can see his experience and whatnot, kind of the younger guys feed off of that, and it's just not, happening, which really sucks, because if this was a couple of years ago and he had gone to Calgary, that's a lot of influence on, Gaudreau and now Tkachuk and Monahan and all them, and it's just not happening how it was even just a year or two ago. So, it's kind of sad to see him part ways with the Flames. He was my favorite guy growing up. I always wore number 68 when I started playing hockey. He was definitely one of my favorite players when I was little. So it's kind of sad to see his career finally come to an end. So
we're going to wake up and he's going to be on some other team.
That'd be sweet. I'd love it, but
dude, like with how the offseason was for his, like I don't even want to call him sweepstakes for Jaromir Jagr, but like, it's just kind of sad because it was pretty evident. It was pretty evident no one really wanted him.
Yeah, no
in the offseason. And then, yeah, he just has a pretty shitty year.
It seems like they just let their like Gaudreau and Monahan just like pick his brain for like a couple weeks, and they were like, okay, we don't need you anymore.
That's literally what.
And sell a couple of jerseys in the meantime.
Yeah,
like kind of a sad ending for sure.
Yeah,
it's like Old Yeller.
Oh my god, it really is.
Man. Jump back and shoot him. Oh. And then that was a metaphor.
It really is, though.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty good metaphor. Anyways,
I know.
I'm gonna go. We were talking about
Yotes.
This. No, that was a little further back. But
okay.
This the free agency class of defensemen. I think it's after next year. You got and Drew Doughty, Erik Karlsson.
Yes.
This is a nightmare scenario for me, and I think it's going to happen. One of those three will end up on the Nashville Predators.
Yep. I'm scared.
If I'm going to,
and I think
put a gun in my head, I'm going to say Oliver Ekman-Larsson is going to be on the Predators, just because I think he'll obviously command less money than Doughty and Carlson. And then if Erik Karlsson's on the Maple Leafs, that'll be an unreal team.
That'll be a riot.
I think Doughty's going to stay. I don't know why. I don't see
why he. Well, I was going to say I don't see why he wouldn't.
Well, I started to think he wouldn't, and then based on their play this year,
that's what. That's kind of what I'm basing it off.
They're kind of fucked.
Is their window ending though? Yeah, their
window's coming up too. Yeah,
maybe just give it 2 more goes and yeah. But I definitely think the Leafs are going to get one of these guys though. So the whole OEL thing came up, because the Yotes are open for business, and we've roasted the Yotes because they had that epically bad start with no regulation wins in their first 21. Took them forever to fire Tippett. They just made a shit ton of weird trades this offseason, like Derek Stepan, Jalmerson, Demers. It was like, why now? Why now? I didn't really think it was their time to compete. So that was just weird. But yeah, I think Toronto is probably going to get one of these guys because a lot of people are scared to play in Toronto, especially guys from Ontario. When's the last time a guy from Ontario really signed there? Was it David Clarkson? Was that kind of the big signing last time? So the media there is really hard, but I feel like maybe one of these European guys might go there. And the Maple Leafs were a team that was probably going to be a big suitor for Tavares, but I think we're all of the belief that Tavares is probably going to be staying now. So that's a lot of money now you can go spend to go get one of these guys for, 10, 11, 12 million a year, depending on which guy it's going to be. I think any of those guys would be a wonderful fit for any team out there. But yeah, I'm really concerned about Nashville. I'm really scared about them trying to get Mike Hoffman from Ottawa. Hoffman's been a name that's been out there in rumors. It's been linked to, I think, St. Louis and Nashville, and he's got a hell of a shot. And I'm frightened of the idea of, Schwartz, Tarasenko, and Hoffman dishing the puck to each other. That's a big time nightmare for a Hawks fan, or I think anyone who'd have to play them in the playoffs. But yeah, Nashville, man, it's just such a good. It seems like they still have I don't know if they have enough to make a trade, but there's no state income tax. The crowds there are unbelievable, and they already have a great team. So it's just a hell of a free agent destination. It's especially if you got a family or you're married. We all saw the video with Carlson, and he's married and he's got the kid coming now, where he was jumping up and down when he found out he's going to have a son. These guys obviously have wives, girlfriends, family. Nashville's a great place to live, and they've got trade assets. I don't know enough to get it done, but no state income tax and really good, really raucous atmosphere. So I'm of the same fear of Kevin. I get one of these guys, and man, fuck, that would stink.
Also, to make it even more realistic, is just think of all the contracts that Poyle has given out recently. He's sort of setting it up as to where you almost think he's going. It's almost a guarantee at this point because he gave he's got up long term, got Forsberg.
Forsberg's a steal. Arvidsson deal was so cheap.
Arvidsson, yes. Kyle Turris extended. Yarn Crook is locked up till 2022. Subban, Ekholm. Fuck.
Yeah, and if they really want to, if you have the 5 of Yossi, Subban, Ellis, Ekholm, and then one of these big 3 2019 free agent guys, that's a pretty expensive blue line. So one of those 3 is definitely an upgrade, probably on Ellis or Ekholm. So in Nashville really got a commitment from one of those guys. They could also trade one of those defensemen and probably add to their forward group and still have still have a great top 4 decor, but an improved one. And when they trade one of the guys from the old, top 4, probably Ellis, or I would guess it'd be Ekholm, just a rough guess, rough estimate. But you could possibly trade Ekholm for a good forward, and then you make their forward group even better, and then their D is still sick. And yeah, I think Nashville could be a problem, but I mean, shit. What's stopping any of these guys from going to Vegas? I mean,
fuck yeah.
I mean, they're set up. Point. They got 3 first-round picks. They're really good right now. Great coach. It's definitely a place you can raise a family in Vegas. I mean, it's not like these guys live on the Strip. It's got good weather. You can golf. I mean, what's stopping any of these guys from going to play with Gallant and all these guys? I mean, they just locked up Marchessault, so it seems like the guys there are having fun, and it's a place guys are willing to stay for long term. So, I mean, I don't think it's totally unrealistic to see Vegas get involved.
No, I don't think it is either. I think if you're just comparing Nashville and Vegas directly to each other, I think Nashville's the hotter destination for a couple of reasons. First of which is that they went to the Cup Finals last year. And then second of which is, Kevin, when you started listing off all those names that they've got, Arvidsson, Johansson, the blue line, Pecorine still in goal. It literally makes me think of like the 2013, 2015 Chicago Blackhawks, the 2012, 2014 Kings, where it's like a star-studded lineup, and it's like we can seriously win not just one, but maybe 2 or 3 cups before, their core guys start to exit their prime, how, kind of our group is kind of exiting their prime. I think what's going to make Vegas super attractive is not how they finish the regular season, but it'll be how they do in the playoffs. If they make the playoffs and then they just get slapped by like LA or something, like 4-1, then that kind of makes me feel like it's a, like it was a fluky thing that they came out flying. They wanted to have a good first year for Vegas and whatnot. But I think if they perform well in the playoffs, that only increases the attractiveness of Vegas. Because Phillips, like you said, it's a hell of a destination. It's a hell of a place to live. I just think as far as hockey goes right now, Nashville, I mean, if I'm Carlson and I really want to move, I mean, Nashville's got to be at the top of my list for me. At least personally for me, I would be like, yeah, let's go to Nashville. Or at least try to somehow.
Well, another thing that I was going to say is like, Vegas doesn't really have to be like, they don't have to come off as desperate for any of these guys in free agency, because like expectations are still pretty low for them, even though they're doing very well. So like, even if they miss on any big name free agents, it's not like it's that big of a deal. So I feel like, they can sit back and just kind of like around with these guys and see, if they just want to play in Vegas, because I do agree it's a really sexy destination for for a young player. So yeah, fuck Vegas. That's a good point, Rob, Nick. Like, that didn't even cross my mind.
And my whole thinking too is it's got a lot of the same attractive features, like the weather. You could play golf year round. It's probably a sweet place, for wives and girlfriends just go lay by the pool, while they make a shit ton of money, kind of deal. But
boyfriends too. 2018, Nick.
Yeah, gender is a spectrum. The Vegas though, when they constructed that roster, it's not like they got a lot of cap space. So, I mean, is there a team out there that has the combination of being as talented on the ice and having the amount of money to offer as Vegas? Like, Vegas might have the best combination of attractive roster and the amount of money in the offer. I mean, I as much as Toronto would be sick to add one of these guys, I mean, they got a lot of players that they're going to have to pay. I mean, you got to pay Matthews and Marner and a lot of these guys soon. So, does Vegas have any commitments like that right now? I mean, no, they just have a lot of guys who are already signed. Like, they got Marchessault locked up. I mean, they might sign Neal.
I think they locked up McNabb too.
Yeah, they did. So, I mean, it seems like and then they're going to have a bunch of young guys on entry-level contracts, the Brandstroms and the Suzukis and the Glasses, the guys they got early in the draft. So, shit. I mean, that's in Shea Theodore. Like, God, I mean, Vegas is pretty motivated team. I think they're going to be a big free agent player moving forward, because it seems like Gallant's a really well-respected coach, too. It seems like he's very demanding, but he's respected. Where it's, I'm not just being like a torts and like busting your ass just because I want to bust your ass. It's like in Columbus is playing well, but he's not just being a ball buster to be a ball buster. There's a whole reason, and you can tell that they play hard for him. And it seems like those guys would run through a wall for him, because every freaking shift, dude, the Knights work so damn hard. We saw it in the game against the Hawks the other night, and they've beaten some good teams. And dude, that team is unreal at home. But maybe shifting gears a little bit, we got to cover the Olympic roster. The United States unveiled their roster. I think we're going to let Kevin take this one away. He wrote a blog about it, about how he thinks the team stinks. And I don't think the roster is complete yet. There might be a couple of the World Junior Championship guys like Tkachuk, Middlestat, etc., who might get added on the roster. I think they have like 2 spots remaining, so they might strengthen the roster with a couple of those guys. And you never know if, hope not, but, people can get injured and stuff and more room might open up. So it's not quite the roster yet that's going to go to Pyongyang, but let's maybe let Kevin start off with his American Pyongyang thoughts about this roster that was released.
Yeah, it's really bad. That's just like the main thing I got to say.
Thanks, Batman.
Are you sure, Nick, that, I mean, like, I guess it's not totally out of the question yet, but are you sure that, like, guys like Brady Tkachuk will make it onto the roster? Like, is that out of the question or what?
We got to cut that. I was on mute. I didn't know it.
Oh, fuck. All right.
I was going to say, I can't hear you. Kev, we're at 1 hour, 1 minute, and 30 seconds.
Just want to talk about this, then wrap it up.
Yeah, we'll do what the puck. We got.
All right, 1 hour, 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't done one in a while. It's okay if it goes a little.
Okay.
All right. Ready?
What I said, like, I just said, what do you like? I asked you if Brady Tkachuk and guys like that can go. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Well, those guys are eligible. It seems like the trend with this management for the American side was to add a lot of veterans and guys playing overseas and stuff, and not necessarily like teenagers and stuff. So if they can add to the roster, it's not a guarantee to be those guys. But I mean, if you're trying to go over there and freaking win, I mean, based on what I saw from Tkachuk, who he's going like top 3 in the draft, and Middlestat's a freaking stud. Like, if you're trying to win and those guys are willing to miss some time from their college season, I'm taking those guys in a heartbeat and I'm going there to freaking win.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, and then I guess just looking back at the roster in general, it's a total fucking, it's the weirdest mix of players I've ever seen in my life.
It's like a sim roster,
yeah, that's just like it's like a fantasy draft roster in like NHL.
It is.
But oh my god, yes. So a captain, Brian Gianta, who's
where'd Brian Gianta come from?
Left field. And James Wisniewski.
No, Brian Gianta came from Under a Rainbow, the little short guy.
Well done,
dude. Yeah, James Wisniewski. I remember I shared this with you guys. His knees even work? Didn't he blow he blew out his ACL like 4 times? And I'm not trying to make fun of him, but that dude got a number of serious knee injuries. And is he even been playing recently? Like, I can't believe in the year 2018. I don't think so. Year 2018. He's playing in I don't know where he's playing in Europe.
Love of the game. I respect it. The one thing I will say though is we're giving this roster a lot of shit, but these are guys who probably never thought that they would make the Olympic team. And as much as we don't think this is the best roster, I think other countries are going to be in similar boats. And the one thing I will say is if the Americans come up short, they probably will, but it's kind of like a who the hell knows what's going to happen tournament. It's totally up in the air. Total crapshoot of a tournament. I'm afraid for my gambling, but we'll see what happens. But I think these guys are going to go out there and, when you have the American or whatever that shit is that Nike put on their crest. Those are some interesting jerseys.
I forgot about that for a sec. Thanks for bringing it up.
Yeah. So not only do we have this NHL sim roster, they're going to be wearing these bizarro uniforms. But all that being said, they're going to go out there and they're going to work hard because they're playing for their country and, they're going to have family in attendance and they're going to try to make their, respective teams, families former coaches, hockey community's proud. These are former NHL guys, and I think they're going to have the full support of the current NHL American players. And I think that if they come up short, it's not going to be from a lack of effort, because I think these guys are going to really embrace the opportunity to do something that never in their wildest dreams they thought was ever going to happen. And I'm gonna watch, but I have zero expectations for them. I'm just pissed at that. I've said it a million times, broken record. You're not promoting the game the right way. But
no. Well, and ESPN did an article. Have you seen what the rosters? I mean, everybody kind of knows what the rosters would look like if NHL players were allowed, but ESPN did like a mock roster thing for USA, Canada, Sweden, Finland. Actually, just those 4. And it's like, it just, like you just said, I know that these guys, the roster that we are taking, they're going to bust their asses working. And, if they fail, it won't fall under as much criticism as it did, with Sochi and then the World Cup of Hockey with the NHLers in it. But it sucks because, like you just said, it's not the way to promote it because I said that weird. But like USA's roster is like Johnny Gaudreau, Matthews, and Patrick Kane. That would potentially be like our first line. And then our second line would be Eichel, Kessel, and Van Riemsdyk. And then even the fourth line is Kessler, Oshie, and Brandon Saad. Like it makes you. It makes me. I feel I'm proud to see these guys go and get their shot. Like you just said, they thought that they would never get, and I'm happy for them. But at the same, it sucks because we know that there's another side that we're completely missing out on, and that is the very absolute best of the best going up against the best of the best.
I want to see McDavid and Matthews go at it.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
Fuck.
That's exactly. And, will
we ever see them play against each other? They played with each other on North America.
Well,
and they don't get to play in the,
Well, if they do a World Cup of Hockey every 4 years, then yeah, we would, because they would finally go play for Canada.
It's a business, man. The NHL wants control of everything because that's their own tournament.
Sucks. But I hate it.
Olympic hockey is like my favorite hockey, to be quite honest.
It is. It's great.
But also,
it's great hockey.
Not to mention, just like it's going to be really hard for me to find it within myself to wake up at these brutal ass starting times to watch James Wisniewski play fucking hockey for USA.
You have a podcast, Kevin. You have responsibilities now. So.
I realize that, but like. I'm going to be hungover. I don't want to wake up at 3 or 4 in the morning to watch fucking Brian Gianna try to play hockey at 38. Like, it's just not in the cards for me.
Yeah. Well, have you seen Yager try to play hockey at 44 lately, folks? Ooh. Hey,
Ooh.
Yeah.
Old Yeller.
Yeah, at least he's going in the Hall of Fame.
All right. Yeah, so true. Now that we got all that out of our system, maybe we'll do What the Puck, boys. Anyone got a What the Puck lined up? I might need to sit here and think of mine, but I'll let you guys take it away. I think we're going to wrap up the show this week with What the Puck. We covered a lot of bases, and then we'll see what transpires over the next week. But since we last talked, what is your What the Puck? Who's first?
Kev, do you have one? Because I might have to think for a minute or two to try and come up with one.
You know what? You know what I'm going to do? Like, this might just kind of bail out here, but I'm going to double down on
Go ahead.
This USA hockey team, like, it's just so bad. Like, I'm not gonna lie. So when I thought it was fake, what they did was they tweeted the rosters for the women's team, the men's team, and like the Paralympic team or the sled hockey team.
Yeah. Sled hockey, sorry. Yeah.
And like, dude, I saw some name. Like, I saw the first roster, and I didn't know half the names on the U.S. men's hockey team, and I'm like, what team is this? And then I see fucking James Wisniewski, Brian Johnson. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. I'm not about to watch this. And,
so what's your What the Puck? What are you mad at? Like, what are you mad at? This is the roster that they, based on the available choices, are you mad? Or are you just mad that there's no NHL guys? Like, why are you saying What the Puck, Kevin?
Or is it both?
I think I'm going to put it like maybe I'm trying to think of the percentage of who deserves most blame. I'm going to go like it's obviously Gary Bettman that deserves the most blame.
That goblin-looking fuck.
You also got to blame USA Hockey for just putting out a piss-poor roster. I feel like it could be better. It might get better, relatively speaking.
Hey, can we cut the goblin looking fuck part?
No, we're keeping it.
No, that was perfect.
No, that was kind of. I think
we're going.
He might be Jewish. So. Let's cut.
We'll roll with it.
He certainly is with his money.
Oh shit!
Okay, that part we gotta cut.
No, we're going. We're going.
No.
If we're going down,
wait, what's the time?
Yeah,
hey, what's the time? We gotta cut the goblin part. It was not even funny. It also wasn't that funny.
Hour and 10 minutes and 17 seconds. And
Kevin, restart with your percentage. Kevin, just restart with. I'm trying to think of the percentage.
I think we were being a little loud.
Huh?
Sorry.
Did you get the time?
Yeah.
Okay, Kevin, just restart with. I'm trying to think of the percentage. Just restart that whole thing, and I'll shut my mouth.
Okay. All right, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so I'm trying to think of the percentage of who to blame more. It's, most of it obviously goes to Gary Bettman for, just being a fucking idiot and not letting NHL players play. But then also you got to put, I think, some of the blame on USA Hockey for I feel like they kind of rushed this roster, just putting it out pretty early, despite, how bad it is. Like you said, Nick, it can get better, and I don't doubt that it will, relatively speaking. You'll add a couple more names.
And how about the news dump? Dump during the Rose Bowl and the Winter Classic, too. How about that? When they just news dumped it? Like, oh, yeah, we won't notice this squad. Yeah, I totally won't notice this squad.
Yeah, like, it was just it was a bad look. Like, that in that aspect, it was a bad look for USA Hockey and the NHL. NHL's trying to, promote these outdoor games, and then USA Hockey's like, oh, you want to see the worst hockey team ever? Here you go.
Well, I don't know. I watched Denmark in the WJC, so.
Oh, come on.
Fuck, dude. They'll probably play that team. They'll probably lose.
Damn. You're just. All right. So.
Savagery.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see what happens. We got a month. When did the game start? Is it? It's in
February 8th.
So shit. 1 month from this podcast episode.
Yep.
We will be seeing the Brian Gianta. I'm guessing he's the captain. Fair assessment.
He is. Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
he is.
Oh, so he is. I didn't know he was the captain. I just was guessing he was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So cool.
No, he is. They announced it with the roster.
He was the captain in Buffalo at the end, right? Wasn't he the captain in Buffalo before Eichel got it?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, and in
Jersey.
New Jersey, yeah.
For Jersey? Jersey?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he was a captain there.
I think he was too. I think so.
Montreal, maybe?
Yeah,
he was Montreal.
Who fucking cares?
No,
I'm kidding. Okay.
I don't know. They're relevant too.
All right. What's your what the puck?
Yeah, go
my
Jack.
what the puck
I'm still thinking. Go.
Okay, my what the puck is going to be Joe Thornton getting about out, courtesy of Yazem Kadri. For those of you that didn't see it, right off the opening draw, not even 10 seconds into the game, they were kind of going at it. Thornton slashed Kadri in on his hands. They got removed from the face-off circle. Thornton asked them to go. They did. And it was a decent fight. And, I want to say that half of it is because Kadri was trying to grab his jersey and the beard got in the way, but knowing the type of player that Kadri is, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually meant to grab his beard. But basically he held on to his beard, and over the course of the fight basically just ended up pulling out a huge chunk. And when the fight ended, the refs kind of like swatted it away. And Thornton ended up taking like a picture with it at the end of the game. And it's just a nice big old Thornton beard chunk missing from him. So that's kind of my what the puck moment. You don't get to see that. You don't see fights in general too often anymore. So it was just really weird to see, essentially, like I said, a quarter of the dude's hair come out in the process. So, that's my moment. So, Nick, found yours yet, or?
I'm still thinking. I want to maybe touch on that. That was a very, very, probably the weirdest thing I've ever seen. no hyperbole. How would you punch a guy's beard out? Like, did it just get like natted in? Is his hair like that? Like,
no, he was grabbing onto it, like
he was just grabbing onto
for leverage to like throw punches, and then he just
kind of like the NFL where you could legally like when Palomalu that one time got tackled by his hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. Like he was, everybody grabs for the shoulder pad in that jersey right by your collarbone, and that's, I mean, his beard is obviously massive. You could totally chalk that up to him just trying to grab onto the jersey, and he grabbed this. And I mean, you're obviously not going to be like, oh, dude, sorry, I pulled some of your beard. Let's just pause the fight for a couple seconds and make sure I don't pull your hair. I mean, you can't do that. So, he basically was holding on to half jersey, half hair the whole fight, and it just eventually got yanked out.
Yeah. Should I go? Kevin, you got any thoughts on Joe Thornton getting his beard ripped out?
You know what? I've had this thought, like you said, Nick, with the Troy Polamalu thing.
Yes.
It's kind of your fault. Like, I don't want to say you're asking for it, but like, it's legal.
Yeah.
There's no rule that says you can't grab it.
So, no, it's 100% true. I mean, if a guy's trying to punch my face in, I mean, I know there's the whole fight code and the unwritten rules stuff, but I mean, you're going to do whatever you can to try to not get your face bashed in, because you guys remember when Taves fought Joe Thornton that one time, and Thornton was like, you don't want this, and Taves was like, oh, hell yes, I do. And Taves got fucking pummeled. I mean, that was bad. So, I mean, for Nazem Kadri to step up and fight that guy, like, yeah, he was probably like, oh, shit, I am absolutely in one right now. I really gotta do something here. I think I know what the puck is.
Let's hear it.
It's not the most recent thing, but it's since we last talked. Since New Year and the holiday and everything. Hey, Zach Ronaldo, you're kind of a piece of shit. Just gonna kind of throw it out there.
Yeah, you are.
I wouldn't say it to your face, man, but these guys that it's just the whole lack of respect for your opponent. It's just, man, like, I can't believe this guy. Was it Gerard on the Avs who came over in that tourist trade, that three-way tourist trade? That guy is not gonna harm a fly. And that, I mean, you got to know, he knew exactly who that guy was. And for those who didn't see the play, I mean, he just basically sucker punches this guy. And he got a 6-game suspension. And seeing the severity of that and knowing Ronaldo's history, being just a shit in Philadelphia and Boston. Also, I'm also going to say what the puck to the NHL Department of Player Safety. I mean, 6 games for what that was and with the guy's history. I mean, I feel like if it was a first-time offense, I mean, that's a one-game suspension. Like, I'll call it what it was. Call it what it is. But, like, Zach Ronaldo, I just don't think there's a place in the league for those kind of guys anymore. And I'm not going to put him at, like, Matt Cook or Rafi Torres level, but the guy doesn't really add a whole lot to your team. And, if you're not scoring and with fighting kind of leaving the league and you're just going to, like, cheap shot people and, not fight someone who's totally out of your weight class and stuff, or it wasn't even a fight. The guy didn't even have a chance to, like, defend himself really. And I know Biz Nasty, who's, works for the Yotes now, and he's an entertaining Twitter follow, and he was kind of defending the guy, having played a similar role, but obviously had a lot more respect than Ronaldo ever has for guys on the ice. I disagree. I think he knew exactly who the guy was, and I think he was just frustrated. It was probably just a culmination of the whole season. He's not very productive. The team's bad, and probably just was frustrated at the moment. So I just don't think there's a place in the league for those kind of plays and players like Zach Ronaldo. So that's kind of my what the puck. If you're going to be a plug, don't bring everyone else into it with you and, punch a kid who's trying to establish his career. And, especially stuff like head injuries and stuff right now, you don't want to see a 19, 20-year-old kid getting punched by Zach Ronaldo without a chance to defend himself. That, that's just annoying. So douche play.
Yeah. I think saying that has no place in the game today it's true in 2 ways, in that like you don't need to see people getting sucker punched in any sport. Like, that obviously has no place in the game. But then also, like, goons. I don't even know I'd call him a goon. He's just kind of a piece of shit. Like,
he's a plug.
Scumbag.
He's a plug.
Yeah. Like that. Like, you don't need players like that anymore because they're just totally useless.
Exactly.
Like, the game has just changed so much.
There's guys that can have skill and guys that you don't want to mess with.
That's
like
exactly what my point was going to be.
Like, Wayne Simmons is a good player who you also don't want to fight. Like,
exactly.
That's the modern enforcer. Not even enforcer, but
like the guys that are successful as like that kind of role, like the agitator, get under your skin role, they also add points. Like Brad Marchand has been, one of the biggest agitators. Everybody hates him except for his teammates and Boston Bruins fans. But the guy can put the puck in the net and make you pay on the scoreboard. Wayne Simmons is another guy,
Matthew Tkachuk.
Exactly.
And his brother.
He pissed off a whole LA Kings team. That's how effective he was.
And he fought Kessler, man. That was sick.
Kessler's another one that just agitates, but he can make you pay. And this is just like, it was such a stupid and reckless thing to do. And Kev, like you say, it's twofold. There's no room anymore because people don't want to see people getting hurt like that, and people are just too skilled now in the NHL. And it's worth noting too that Johnson came over and pretty much beat the pulp out of him, kind of after the fact. Everybody, was ready to jump on Ronaldo after it, and basically Ronaldo went down right on the boards. And usually when the guy goes down in a fight, that's kind of when the fight ends. And Johnson just was like, "No, you deserve this," and he just kept throwing 3 or 4 more punches till it was over. So that was kind of good to see, him get basically a taste of his own medicine. But it's just, dude, it's so stupid. And I don't know, Nick, would you say if I said a 10-game suspension, would that be more to your liking?
Yeah, maybe not necessarily even 10, but like 8 or 9 at least.
More than 6.
Yeah, more than 6. Sure. I just didn't think 6 was enough.
Same. Okay.
So I'm on the same page with you. I mean, I'm not trying to say the guy should get suspended for like half the year or something, but
no,
I feel like with his history and how long he's been in the league, and having a brain and seeing the size of the guy who is coming at you, and probably, a guy like that's going to look at the height and weight of all the opponents and stuff. He knows his role and he knows what he's the kind of guy who might, not sleep as well at night because he might know he goes out there and has to fight every once in a while, or, his job is going to be to try to run people through the third row. It's not an easy job by any stretch, but speaking of the Flyers, though, we'd mentioned Simmer there, being a tough guy that's got skill. I was just thinking the Flyers, they've jumped right back into the playoff race just real quick. One last late addition to What the Puck was, I couldn't believe this when I heard it today, but What the Puck, bet you didn't know this, Claude Giroux and Jacob Voracek are each top 7 in the league in points right now. Claude Giroux is sitting at 3rd behind Kucherov, who's 1, and McKinnon at 2. And I also said Kucherov is my dark horse for the Art Ross before the year, so not a big deal. But Tavares is 4, Stamkos 5, obviously line mates with Kucherov. Josh Bailey 6, we mentioned him earlier in the podcast, as part of that Islanders core. And Voracek's at 7th, and behind him is Blake Wheeler, who's tied, or they're both tied with 49. So Voracek and Giroux, a lot of people maybe thought Giroux was kind of on the decline a little bit, but, the Flyers are Newvert's kind of doing okay for them, and maybe the Flyers aren't so bad. And, with the way the East is going right now, maybe they sneak in. Who knows?
Yeah, like it was a pretty under the radar. It's pretty under the radar what they're doing lately.
Yeah, and Gostisbehere looks way better because he had a little bit of a sophomore slump second year, but he looks really good now too, by the way.
He does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
He's like near the top of the league in points for defensemen too, I think. So
Braden Shen's having a great year too.
Oh my God, if they had him still. But I mean, they probably felt like they needed
Couturier is playing well too.
Yep. He's a hair guy. Good flow. Go with the flow, baby. He's got nice style lettuce, and same with Voracek. He's got that I don't know. Can we cut that? I don't know where the fuck I was going with this.
Why don't you wrap it up?
What's the time?
Yeah, we're almost at.
Cut the hair.
We're almost at an hour and a half. Hour 24 minutes and 41 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a long fucker.
Okay.
It's okay. It's
all right.
Good.
Cut the hair part, and then someone say, "Do we have anything else?" Then we'll say we're good, and I'll say, "Thank you for listening," and that's it.
Okay. I'll say, "Do we have anything else?"
Yeah.
I guess.
Okay. So just Kevin, you got the time for that? Sorry.
Yep.
I was just like trying to joke. I just went on Twitter and I saw a GIF of Couturier like throwing his flow back, and then I tried to throw it in there, and it was stupid. So I don't know. All
right. 3, 2, 1. Is there anything else? Anything can think of? Anyone can? Okay. Well, I can't speak English, so cut that.
Console.
That's hour 25 and 25 seconds. God.
Okay.
All right. Let's see if I can get this time. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, boys. Is there anything anyone else can think of? Any other highlights or anything? I know I can't. So if any of you guys have some stuff.
Fuck, I think that's it. That was a long episode.
Yeah, we covered a lot. Covered a lot of bases there. So I think we will wrap it up for the January 8th episode of GWTF. Thank you all for listening. Also want to make a note that we are going to be trying to release these on Tuesdays as much as possible. We're releasing this one a little early. Boys and I were interested based on our schedules and availability. Got to check out the national championship tonight between Alabama and Georgia. Absolutely hammered Alabama. I think Alabama's got this game in the bag. So we'll see if you can make fun of that prediction next week. But I think Nick Saban's been dynamite against his old assistants. I think Bama's got that one. So we dropped this one a little early, but the game plan is to get together, remotely, record on Mondays, and drop the episode as quickly as we can on Tuesday. Kevin's nice enough to do all the editing for us. So we're going to try to do Tuesdays, but we are committed to making this a weekly show, and we'll update if there's any schedule changes. So expect them now coming out on Tuesdays from here on out. And thank you for listening. Obviously available on the Let Me Be Frank blog, where we've all written blogs recently for Let Me Be Frank Sports. So check those out. Kevin had a nice piece about the Olympic roster. I did like a recent Blackhawks blog, and did a preview for USA Canada. So I don't know how relevant all that stuff is now, but expect some more writing. Any reviews and stuff are appreciated on iTunes in the early stages, word of mouth, recommendations, stuff like that's great. So check us out on Twitter too, at GWTF Podcast. So thank you for listening, and excited for a fun week of the NHL coming up. So see you boys next week.
Absolutely. All right, boys. We'll catch you later.
See you.
Peace.